So I think the biggest impact which is happening is every organization has been gone 2 to 4 years behind. So whatever was the P&L of organizations in, let's say, in 2016 or 2017, that's exactly how the P&L is looking like in 2020. That's how bad it is going to be. So what's this going to do is that cash will become obviously very important. So people will try to conserve a lot of cash, and the cash to cash cycle is what people will be more focused upon. So I don't think when people say that there is a lot of automation which is going to happen, the automation I don't think will be able to happen, because from 6 to 12 months from now, I think till that time there will be a lot of cash crunch and people will not be able to invest in a lot of money. So I don't think that this is going to come out for about 6 months from now. So even if the lockdown ends, the second biggest pain right now is planning right now. So when you say supply chain, planning becomes the biggest pain because of two important things. One is, of course, that you cannot predict exactly which state will come out of orange to red or red to green and so on and so forth. So that confusion is one confusion. So we are looking at different maps right now. It is all orange, red, green maps. The conventional system in India, which is like the general trade, what we call the conventional stockist or the distributor or the sub-stockist model, this model is actually completely getting irrelevant right now, because it is very difficult for those distributors to reach retail. So initially also when we were under lockdown, all the permissions were there with organizations like us, which were getting into essential goods category, but there were no permissions for these guys. So your value chain was still completely choked. About 15 to 20% of contribution used to come for FMCG companies from these organizations, barring some exceptions like Kellogg's and all, which have about 60% contribution of modern trade. So that is completely reversed right now. Today, 80% of our business, what everybody is doing is roughly modern trade and e-com, and about 20-30% of business is distributors, which is still kind of trying to ramp up. Now, what that does is it puts a very different pressure onto supply chains, because the model of servicing both of these consumers are very different. So for a modern trade or an e-com, you need to do what we call as a PTL kind of transportation, a transportation which is very short. So the cost to serve right now is very high, because there are many players like this. For general trade, it is still bulk transportation, so you do a lot of full truckloads. So one of the significant impacts which everybody had, especially people like us, or food which is low shelf SKUs, is that we were left over with a lot of inventory. Because imagine 5 to 6 weeks you keep on producing, but there is nobody to sell and nobody to move your stuff. So it becomes a lot of issues when the lockdown even opens up. So a lot of issues. One of the solutions which people like us or ITC or Nestle have adapted is reducing range. So if you see 200 to 300 kind of SKUs which we supply in the market, we are not doing that much right now. So the idea is to focus. It's a very large rationalization. It's not 20-30%, it's upwards of 50% of what SKUs for every organization have come down. It helps in two ways. A, it helps you have a limited control of what you can predict or what you can forecast. And B, it helps you produce only SKUs which are channel agnostic. So channel SKUs which can go in modern trade or e-com or general trade, very basic. Coke 600 ml is what I would want to produce, so that it goes everywhere. So those are the kind of decisions which people are taking, although that's not the 100% solution, but it keeps you in control, at least in terms of inventory, obsolescence, etc. So we are moving into something which is called a scenario planning. So people have multiple scenarios and they are just working on those scenarios. Like I said, cash is the king. Cash will become important. My guess is about 2 to 2.5 months from now, if you go to shopping sites or if you go to a modern trade retail outlet, you will find SKUs only which give a better cost to serve to the company. So people will try and rationalize only packs. Shampoos, for example, will go into 1 liter or 600 ml or 800 ml. You will find less sachets. You will find less smaller packs, because people will start rationalizing those SKUs. So that is a big shift which will happen, and I think it is there to stay, because the issue of cash and the cycle to get corrected will take about at least 2 quarters. So 6 months at least it will take for this to rationalize. 2021 is what people can look into experimenting. Although there are people in India who look at this as an opportunity. Amul has came up with a drink which is some immunity boosting drink. So people are still trying new products, but I don't think that will be seen too much. There will be very less such adventurous people who will try new products. Right now, people will just try to stabilize with the basic core SKUs, which is less cost to serve for them and which gives them cash. I would say 2020 is very difficult to predict. 2021 as a year, if we are able to meet volumes which we would have predicted for 2020, and I'm saying this on the behalf of all FMCGs, that is what we are hearing from people right now. That will be great. If over 2019 you can get a bit of growth in 2021, those companies will be great. Worst case could be that you touch about 2019 volumes only, which means just back to normalcy, not growth anymore. There could be some categories of companies which can be there. For example, discretionary spends in luxury, spends in perfumery, spend in cosmetics, etc. might take a hit, is what also the worst case guess is. But my guess would be 2019 exactly as per 2020 volume which you envisaged beginning of the year. If you hit in 2021, we should be great. It changes a lot. So I think it will become gradually important that execution takes over a very front seat versus planning right now. All this dilemma between planning and execution, I think people will try to move supply chain designs a little bit towards agility. Agility becomes very, very important right now. And people and processes are the next pillars which happen. But with this fundamental question of planning, I think agility becomes the center and the core. So people would try to have SKUs where you have less change over time. You reach the market quickly. Basis cost to serve is what you will try and produce. People will try and move automatically more towards replenishment because you are actually gauging how secondary is happening basis the primary pull. So you're actually automatically moving into a pull kind of flow, even if you're a push kind of flow or an organization. So that is fundamentally which will change. I see people adapting a lot on more agile solutions rather than heavier solutions on SNOP planning, which do 3 months or 6 months planning. I think that is not going to happen for quite long.